All right, guys. So today we're going to go over just a broad overview of all the tools, the different things that we have, and how they work to make the brokerage run nice and smooth and whatnot. So we're kind of titling this training "New Agent Orientation." It's just not for the new folks, though. So hopefully you guys get a little bit out of it. Let's see. Okay. So the different tools that we have and some of the different things that everybody needs to be aware of is our SkySlope system, our DocuSign system, conversion, our CDA and invoicing, which are two different things. Most people haven't got this yet, so I will just put it out there now. And you guys can pause this video later on if you're watching it, or you can copy it now. But with the CDA system, which we'll go over in a little bit, it's pretty self-explanatory. As far as invoicing goes, invoicing is always required for consultation, if anybody ever started doing consultation, and leases always require an invoice. The title company will track who's getting paid what at closings, but for invoicing for leases that are being paid by either a property management company or another broker, those have to be run through us so that we can keep track of who's making what and where it's going and whatnot. So at the end of the year, your 1099s will reflect that. So when we're doing invoicing for a lease, the things we need to enable to us to generate that lease are the tenant name, the rental amount, the move-in date, the property name and address, and management company if it's needed. Usually, if it's like a big apartment complex that's paying a locator, you'll have like a Roscoe Properties or something like that that we'll need to know it's them, and then any other pertinent information that you think is relevant. The goal in the future, now that we have people doing a lot more invoicing, is to have a CDA link and an invoicing link from our main agent page, which we'll go over here in just a little bit. Training documents. So we will also go over where on the agent page you can locate the training folder with all the training stuff that's in there, including videos just like this one. The password to those training documents, that training folder, is the word challenge. Okay, it's a capital C. The A is an @ sign, and instead of E's, we use 3's. Okay. So when you go to access those, it's a Dropbox folder. It's password protected. You'll need that password to get into it. This password may change every now and then, and when it changes, we'll make sure that everybody's aware of it. Okay. Graphic signs and business cards, same thing. Accessed on the agent site, and the password is also that challenge, same as the training documents. Now, with these tools up here, I will tell you that when you get onboarded, or when you were onboarded, one of the first emails you will get after you fill out your packet is going to be a copy of that packet, which you'll get after I sign it. And once I sign it, Lorraine will get a copy, I get a copy, and you and William will each get a copy. So the first email, one of the first emails you'll get from the brokerage is going to be a SkySlope email saying, hey, welcome to SkySlope. Go ahead and log in, set a password, and let's get you into the system. You'll get an email from Lorraine saying, hey, that we're in the process of onboarding you. Once you get that email from Lorraine, you're going to be eligible to go to Trek and start moving your stuff over in Trek. And then once you move over in Trek officially, you'll get an email from me showing that all your stuff is ready to go, and you're now operating underneath us. William will also send you an email because he's going to need a few different things from you to set up your conversion account. And once you get that email from him, you need to respond to it, get him the stuff that he needs so that he can set up your account. All right. And it looks like Terry just jumped on. So Terry, we're like just in the very beginning of this stuff. So we're just kind of going over our group of tools right here. The only thing, since you are here, that I'll tell you is that when we're doing invoicing for right now, these things right here under the CDA and invoicing section, those are the things I'll need from you when doing apartment lease invoices and whatnot. But you and I can go over that stuff individually later. So let's jump here to the next slide real quick. So this is important information. Now this one is going to be a good piece of information for everybody, new people and people that have been around for a while, because we still have some problems with this stuff. So this is first going to be some SkySlope documentation info, and then bits and pieces of information that people are continually kind of having trouble with. So everybody's required to upload their documents into SkySlope once they're executed. Now, I have 24 hours here. It's technically 1 business day. So if you execute on a Saturday, you don't need to upload until the end of, Monday is your timeline. Same thing if you execute on Friday, same thing. Monday is going to be your, when that's going to be due. But the purpose of getting you guys to upload your documents, your executed documents within a day or so, is in case somebody calls, there's an issue, something happens to you. I need to be able to access those files, see what's going on. There's been a handful of instances over the last month where I've gotten a call from a title company or another agent or a client, either as a complaint or a clarification for something, or they're not able to get a hold of the agent, and I go to check in SkySlope and there's nothing there. And I don't like being blindsided by something like that. I'd much rather be on the phone with somebody, pulling these documents up while I'm talking to them, so I can already kind of know what it is they're looking for. So, and a big thing is the brokerage is ultimately responsible for all the activities that are conducted. So if something were to happen to you, you got in a car accident, you end up in the hospital, something like that, while we will be very concerned for you, we still have a very large fiduciary duty to the client to continue their transaction, especially if you're in the middle of negotiations, if you're getting closer to closing, where there could be a lot of things, different things that need to happen to make that deal close. Okay. When you're completing a SkySlope entry, we really need you guys to complete the whole SkySlope entry. All the information that's in there that's being requested is important for us as a brokerage, for you as the agent, and then from a compliance standpoint. Things like MLS numbers so that we can match them up. Things like year built so that Lorraine can make sure that, hey, did you accidentally miss a lead-based paint addendum that needs to be put on there? There's no way for her to know that unless there's a year built in there. Zip codes are important, so that we have a complete file. So you really need to fill out as much information as possible. And we'll look at that stuff here in a minute when you're in SkySlope. The only things that will not go into SkySlope are apartment locating clients. Those clients, the apartments do a pretty good job of keeping all their paperwork. Once we bring them in, they pretty much take over the entire process, and we're just there to kind of make sure they don't mess anything up. So we don't need apartment locating deals going into SkySlope, but residential leases that are listed by another broker, all that stuff's got to go in there, and every other deal we do goes in there. As soon as you request your CDA and you get it back from me, it's still your responsibility to take that, go back in and upload that into the system. So when you send in that CDA, I'll kick that back out to you within 24 hours. You'll get it, I'll get it, and Lorraine will get a copy of it, but it's incumbent upon you to go ahead and upload that into the system and make sure it's there. Okay. And then once you guys close, we want to go ahead and upload those closing disclosures within 3 days. Of course, if you close on a Friday, we can push that to Monday or Tuesday, but we don't want to be sitting on it for a week or two with a transaction that's closed, but we don't have any closure on. There's been some questions about whether or not does it have to be a closing disclosure, or maybe they didn't use one. We would prefer a closing disclosure, but depending on the title company in the area, everybody's a little bit different, but settlement statement works, closing disclosure works, whatever their version is of the fees. But we really want to see what our clients were paying, what they were walking away with, what it cost them, and kind of what we were pulling out of the transaction. We want to try and get all that stuff on that document if possible. Okay. So that being said, these are going to be a review, and they've been posted several times, but we still have a lot of folks that are missing this information when we're doing listing agreements, buyer rep agreements, contracts, stuff like that. So we're going to go over it. Okay, so the name of the brokerage is Realty Solutions. So in your documents where it asks for the brokerage, Realty Solutions is what you put in there. It's not Realty Solutions and your name. It's not my name. It's just Realty Solutions. Okay, the brokerage license number is right here, 9006412. That is the brokerage license number. It's not mine, but when it asks for the brokerage license number, this is the number we will use. Okay, the address for the brokerage, when it's asking where we're at, is this PO box right here, PO Box 1944. That is our legal mailing address with TREC. That's where all our notices get sent. subpoenas, anything important, that's where it goes, and that's also the address that needs to go in the documents. Okay. We are working on changing that up a little bit in certain areas. When that comes out, everybody in that area will be notified, but for everybody for right now, this is what we're using. Okay. When it asks for your supervisor or your designated broker or the broker, that's going to be me. Okay. And this is my license number. Okay. That's going to be, this stuff right here is relevant for page 9 of the contract when it's asking for who your supervisor is and what their license number is. And then my phone number is right here. Most of y'all should have it in your phones. If not, put it in there. But this is the number that we'll put in there. So, and then believe it or not, I need to go ahead and, oh, I'm sorry, I had one more thing. And then the broker to be paid is always Bastrop County. Now, while this sounds silly and it's not a huge deal, that section of the agreement requires the title company to mail us our check. Most title companies will do it anyway, but if we have something else other than Bastrop County, then the requirement would be that we'd have to go to that county to pick up our check. So we just, we want to make sure that they're going to mail us our checks, and we can point to this later on and be like, hey, mail your checks here, because that's what's in the agreement. Okay. And then this final thing, I've put it in nice big bolded letters. If there is a signature, okay, there must be a date. Okay. The only exception to this are addendums. Addendums to a contract fall under the date of the original contract. So addendums don't need it, but everything else does. The last page of contracts, there's an execution date. Our listing and buyer rep agreements all have a section for a date. If it asks for a date, there must be a date in there. This is a requirement under contract law in the state of Texas. If there's no date, it's really easy for somebody to say, well, this agreement wasn't legit because when did I sign it? We don't know. There's no date. And it would be a legitimate reason for somebody to try and bounce out of a contract with us. And then we have to spend time or money trying to fight that. And in the end, it's easier just to put a date. So if it asks for a date, put a date. If you think it doesn't ask for a date, but really there should be a date, then just add a date. There's nothing wrong with adding extra dates, but we're having a regular occurrence of folks that have signatures but no dates anywhere in the agreement whatsoever. Okay. Laureen, I'm going to ask you real quick. I know you're on. Is there anything else? Because you do our back end stuff. You're our compliance person. You're the one that kind of sees these trends. Is there anything else that I haven't covered that you think is relevant for folks?
Right now, that looks like everything. If there's anything else, let's see. No, I'll jump in if there's anything else. That should be it.
Okay, perfect. All right. So that's kind of just like a quick review of stuff. So we're just gonna go ahead and actually do kind of get into the system. So this right here. So this is SkySlope. For those of you who have never logged into SkySlope or who are not super familiar with it, mine looks a little bit different than yours. I kind of have this bar at the top that kind of gives us a status of what's going on within the brokerage. And I don't have any create a listing or create a transactions. You guys will have buttons that say create a listing, create a transaction. But a couple of things I want to point out real quick for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of pick on a couple of different, not pick, but use as an example. So when you have a listing, and for this one, I'm going to use Shelly's listing. Okay. When you open up a listing, okay, and you start putting in all the relevant information. So we have all the information. So Shelly's got the MLS number like we needed. The date entered is automatic. She's got everything filled out. There's no co-listing agent, so not a big deal. Okay, she has the source done. The year built's in there. The file ID number is not super important because those change depending on the title company. We have commissions in here and whatnot. Okay, there's no referral agent or anything. But the biggest and most important thing on this listing thing is when you select the type. And the reason that the type is important is it's going to dictate what documents are required for compliance. So if you select the wrong type, you're going to end up with the wrong documents. And then when we come back in to issue the CDA and we go to check to make sure that your documents are there and we notice that it's wrong, we're going to have you change it, and you're going to have to kind of go through the process again of reassigning those documents. So what we have in this list is residential listing, residential leasing, commercial listing, commercial leasing, we have farm and ranch and undeveloped property, and then we have residential and commercial property management. So if you're on the listing side, it's going to be one of these categories. Everything's going to fit into one of these. Okay, so it's important to select the right one. Once you select the correct one, you'll get an auto population of the required documents, and they're all going to be a little bit different depending on what type of transaction it is. Okay, so I'm just pointing that out as a thing that's important. I know that some of you are still learning this system, and I'll tell you kind of how you can learn a lot more about it later on down the line. When you have listings, okay, this for me, I can see everybody's stuff. For you, you'll only be able to see yours, but here is where we have a withdrawal listing or accept a contract. So on a listing, once you accept a contract, you'll click accept contract. It'll take you to it'll basically turn that listing into a transaction. And then you're going to kind of start over with the transaction side of things. And I'm going to use, here, I'll use this one right here. So this is a listing that I had. So once I went ahead and generated the listing and put it in there, this kind of auto populates for this stuff. But what you have to do is you have to select a checklist type again. If you just have a buyer and you're just starting a transaction with no listing, you'll still have to select a checklist type. So the one thing that we've noticed with some folks is that there's a confusion between listing and buyer. So on the residential side, you have a residential buyer, okay? You have a residential leasing, residential listing, residential tenant, and residential property management. So if you have a listing, your transaction type is going to be residential listing. If it's just a buyer, it's just going to be residential buyer. The difference between these two is that on the listing side, when you generated the listing, we have already asked you for your IABS form. We've already asked you for your seller's disclosure. We've already asked you for a listing agreement. If you select residential listing on the transaction side, all it's going to ask you for is documents related to the transaction, like the contract and the addendums and closing disclosures, all that kind of stuff. If you were to accidentally select buyer, all of a sudden it's going to start asking you for another IABS form. It's going to ask you for a buyer rep agreement. It's going to ask you for a general notice to buyer, all things that you don't have because you're not representing the buyer. So we just want to make sure that we're selecting the right thing. Just like if you had something on property management and you selected a tenant, it would ask you for a tenant rep agreement, but you don't represent the tenant, so it wouldn't make sense. So we're just want to go ahead and make sure that we're selecting the right one. Same thing for commercial. Commercial buyer is just if you have a buyer. Commercial listing is if you're turning a listing into a transaction. Okay. The other thing that I was going to mention is our SkySlopes help and support. So this little icon up here, for those that are new to SkySlope, okay, this little support button right here will take you to their very robust support center. You can email them, you can call them, you can chat with them, but they also have a very robust video library, articles and stuff like this. So you could, how to. Okay, here's a question I had before that I asked: how to change a transaction back into a listing since the buyer backed out. So this happened to me. I wasn't quite sure how to do it, so I just went ahead and searched for it, and I got all these results. And this one right here, this first one, told me exactly what I needed to do. I'm sorry, it's not that one. It was, I don't know which one it was. One of these told me exactly how to go back from having a transaction and turning it back into a listing, so I could kind of pull it back out. So that stuff's there. We also have done a training video on SkySlope for ourselves. That's located in the training folder. It's fairly detailed. I believe it's a little over an hour long. But you can go ahead and watch ours. You can watch theirs. It will kind of give you an in-depth view of what SkySlope can do and how it works.
And Patrick.
Yes.
Sorry. SkySlope also, those tutorials are great. Their videos are great, but I'm telling you, they are there 24/7. If you're filling these forms out at 2:30 in the morning, they are there. And no question has ever been too dumb, and they are so polite and nice to help you. You can talk to them. I believe, only chatted with them. So they're great. They're there 24/7. You need to remember that.
Okay, that's perfect. And it's a good thing to mention, because that's one of the things that we were looking at when we started figuring out who was going to do our transaction management as far as the software goes. And that was one of the big things for us, is that they're they are there. And I believe they have a thing where if they don't answer within like 5 or 10 minutes or something like that, they'll send you a gift card or something. I don't remember exactly what that was, but I remember that was kind of a funny thing that they had. Okay, so this is SkySlope.
I think if they don't have the answer right away, and they
Right.
have to find out, that's what they'll do.
Okay. So anyway, so this is SkySlope. Please go in, log in, watch the videos, watch our training video on this. But this is how we keep track of transactions. Okay. So I'm gonna close this one out. Oh, let's go back into DocuSign. So everybody also gets a DocuSign account. It's our preferred digital signature provider. For those that have used it before, great. If you haven't, it's similar to dotloop and some of the others. I think it's a little more intuitive, which is kind of one of the reasons we went with it. But this is kind of your screen right here for DocuSign. Up here, you can change your preferences if you want to. Some of this stuff on your end is going to be set and it can't be changed, but you can certainly change, your notifications and stuff like that. This is super easy. You can send stuff, you can sign stuff on your own. You can use templates if you've generated templates. Kind of gives you an overview of things, that you have to do, things that others are waiting to do, and things that have been completed. So, this is a list of documents that I've used to complete with DocuSign. The one nice thing about DocuSign is that DocuSign merges well with ZipForms. And for those of us, because we're in Texas, ZipForms is a part of our dues with TAR. And so we automatically get that. So if you go into your ZipForms and go into your options menu, there's a place where you can link your DocuSign to your ZipForms. And it's very seamless if you're going to go ahead and digitally sign documents. Okay, just like SkySlope, if you click up here, so we're right here, a question mark here, you get into DocuSign support, and so they have videos and how-to tutorials and really good support as far as showing you how to do things. So if you have a question about this, I can certainly help you walk through some stuff, but please spend the time to go ahead and search the support side of DocuSign to see if they are able to give you what you need as far as answering your questions. Okay. The other thing I would say is if you're new to Realty Solutions and you already had DocuSign, let me know, because what we'll do is we'll give you the information you need to request a refund from DocuSign for whatever was left on your current account. So if you just renewed, you can get almost all that back. If you're on the very end, you might get a little bit back, but since we're giving it to you, you can get a refund on your personal one that you've been using in the past. All right, and that's all I really have to say about DocuSign. There's not a whole lot to say about it. Just get in there and go ahead and play around with it. Look at the videos and let me know if you have any questions. All right. And then here is, so once you sign into conversion, now William has several other videos that go into all the nitty gritty details of conversion. But this is going to be what your conversion platform looks like. You can search for different clients by name, cell phone. You can look at your activity stream to see who's doing what. You can look at your active leads, people that are marked as clients. You can look at past clients. You can see what your website looks like. So this is kind of what this is what our main site looks like. This is also what your agent site will look like. So they are very similar, but for example, on this one, only my listings show up, not the brokerage's listings. Those don't show up. And if I go to the top here, instead of clicking agents and getting a whole roll of all the agents in our brokerage, this is just going to be you and your information, and people can message you. So that's kind of what your agent site will look like. But on this one, you can build squeeze pages, you can look at landing pages, you can build a CMA, all kinds of different stuff you can do from your conversion account. But I just wanted you to just kind of see what it looks like. But you're gonna have to go watch William's videos to get the nitty gritty on conversion and how that works, because that's going to be his wheelhouse. If you have questions regarding conversion, please get with him and ask him those, and he'll be able to give you all that information that you need. Okay. So then the last part of our little presentation from earlier talked about CDA training documents and graphics and whatnot. So This is our agent site. So it's kind of like a recruiting site slash, it's the site that you guys will go to when you need stuff. So it's realtysolutionsagents.com. Okay. For those that are wanting yard signs, okay, so we have the yard sign templates up here. So if you click those, now I already have this password in here, so it's not asking me for the password again. But here's the different types of signs we have. Okay, there are 3 different sign types, sizes, and then 2 versions of each sign, one with or without your face on it. These files are in PSD format. We are currently in the middle of negotiating or renegotiating with Build a Sign. Folks used them. They liked the product, but the interface was a little rough, so we're trying to get with them. For right now, you can order signs from whomever you like. It doesn't have to be from a provider that we're recommending. We get a really good deal on signs from them. I think like a 24 by 30 inch double-sided metal sign is like $30. After our discount code, they have free shipping and some other stuff, but you're not required to use any specific vendor to get your signs. But these are what they look like. Same thing for if you're looking for business cards. Here are the different versions. We have 3 different versions of business cards, as well as each one having your face or not having your face. You guys can kind of get on and play with those. Again, it's not asking me for a password for this one because mine's already logged in for those, but it's going to be that challenge with a capital C, an at sign instead of the A, and then 3s where the E's would go. Okay, and then before we get to the CDA, the other one is this agent training. So this agent training one will take you to the folders where all our training. So this video right now, all our previous training videos, everything is going to be in this folder. We post this stuff to Facebook. So inside of our Facebook group, you can find all these videos, but we also post them here for those either that aren't on Facebook or that are having trouble finding it there. You can come here to the agent site. You can click that link for training and it'll take you to these folders. So you have like Williams social agent training right here. And you have some scripts that have been put together that he has. And you have his lead generation training stuff right here. And any other trainings that he have will go here. All the training I do is under this brokerage training folder. And so we have brokerage tools, business training, CE courses, and contracts and stuff. So the brokerage tool, so this video right now is located underneath this folder. In this folder, you also have the CDA how-to, which is a little bit more detailed on how we're going to do our CDAs. And then you have the SkySlope how-to video as well, which is that hour-long one that we talked about earlier. Business training, so we have our tax write-offs and home inspections. We have our business planning for 2018 that we did. We also have in here the business income expense and tax tracking documents that I showed you guys in that video for business planning, as well as transaction and lead source tracking form. So all the stuff for business training is in this folder. So you guys all get free CE with us, and so the brokerage is a CE provider, so we have registered CE courses. I'm just almost finished writing our next one, which is going to be an agent safety course, which we're all going to go through. That one's going to be mandatory for 2018, for the first quarter of 2018. So you all will get that, but that will go in here. But in the meantime, the advertising, branding, and lead generation using social media training is already in here. So you guys can reference those anytime you need. And then contracts and stuff. So we've had a couple trainings. So buyer's rep and listing agreements overview. This was one that lasted about an hour and 20 minutes. We had to do a second one that lasted a little bit longer, or lasted a little bit shorter. I'm sorry. We talked about CMAs and pricing strategy. We did a review of the 1-4 contract, the amendments, addendums, and other stuff, and then the contract itself. These 2 are really good. This 1-4 residential resale contract is about an hour and 30 minutes long. We go line by line over the entire contract. And this one right here, we go line by line over all the most common amendments, addendums, and other documents that relate to that. So these are both really good. Okay. So those are where all the training stuff is that you can find. So back to this.
Patrick, what did you click on to get that? Did you click on Dropbox to find that? Where'd you click for that?
Right up here, you see where my mouse is circling agent training?
Okay.
Agent training right there. That'll take you to all that. Now we're gonna at the beginning we got some stuff on our plates right now that we're working on, but beginning of the year we're gonna try and clean up this bar a little bit right here. It's a little cumbersome, but we're gonna try and pull off the yard sign templates and the business card and agent training, kind of put that under one drop down, and then instead of everybody emailing me their invoicing stuff for their leasing stuff, we're going to try and go ahead and do a generate invoice link as well to kind of help streamline that process a little bit. So the last thing that I kind of want to go over is how we generate CDAs at Realty Solutions. So from this agent site, we can click generate CDA, and that's going to take us to this online form. Okay, you guys go through, you fill out this form. Once you submit this form, it automatically turns it into a PDF. It kicks it to me so that I can review it from within my Gmail. I have a DocuSign plugin, so I can DocuSign it within like 30 seconds. And then I turn around and I kick it back out to you. I kick it out to the title company and to Lorene so that she can see that it's coming down the pipe. That's one of the reasons it's important that when you're listing the escrow officer and their email address, that's the person that's going to get this form. So you need to make sure that whoever you're working with is there and that you have a legitimate email address here, not just like a generic one for the entire title company, but it's got to be whoever it is that you're working with needs to go right here, because that's who I'm going to send it to. So starting at the top, sales associate, that's you. Who you're representing, are we representing the seller or the buyer? Okay, the address to the property, so my preference for you guys when you're doing this is this format. So the address, city, state, and zip code. So with the commas where they're at, it just shows up much better on the form in the end. If you run it all together, it kind of looks off. It kind of looks funny if you just put the street name but nothing else. Depending on where you're at, the title company, you might confuse them. It's better just to have a full address. Okay. And then the names of the clients or client. So if it's just one name, then it's just Sam Smith. If it's Sam Smith and Sally Smith, it could just be Sam Smith and Sally Smith. Nothing fancy. Okay. Then you're gonna get down here, name of the title company, the escrow officer you're working with, the company's address, title company's address, the email that we're working with. Okay, we already talked about why that's important. And then down here at the transaction information. So this form is all programmed to kind of do the calculations for you ahead of time. So if we're closing on the 22nd and it's a $400,000 sales price, the commission percentage here is just a whole number. You don't have to do 0.03 or anything like that. It's just a 2 or a 3 or a 3.5 or whatever it is, whatever your commission amount is, you just put in there as a whole number. So if we put in 3% here, it's already going to kick out down here. It's going to calculate, okay, we got $12,000 in gross commission. Okay. The commission plan is really important. This is kind of what helps streamline the process. So you'll notice down here the commission totals. It kind of shows where all the money is going out of your commission. So the broker just cut credits to a client if there's a team lead or if it's a referral, and then kind of what you're walking away with. This drop down menu up here helps that calculation. So if it's your first one for the year, okay, that's going to be your yearly fee plus your transaction fee for this one. That's what it's going to put there. If it's your second through 25 transaction, it's only going to be that $495. And if you've capped out and it's 26 plus, it's going to be taking nothing. So it's really important that we do that. We do have a handful of people that are on a flat fee program. Same thing. Okay. And then if it's a brokerage lead that you're working, we want to make sure that we list it as a brokerage lead. Again, those are on a 70-30 split. And so those are going to kick out the figures here. Okay. Team member, is this a team member or a referral? So if you're on a team, you want to click yes. You're going to go ahead and have your team lead split and your team lead's name. If it's a referral, same thing. Yes, it's a referral. What is your referral fee? It's 1 to 99%. So you can select whatever your referral fee is. If it's 20%, if it's 25%, if it's 30%. Okay. We'll kick that out, and then the team lead or the referral brokerage name. So let's just say it's I don't know, Keller Williams Houston. I don't know, whatever. So it'll, you'll put that in there, and then whether or not we're giving a credit to the client. This is a required field. It's either a certain number or it's 0. Okay. So, and you can, before you submit this, you can check at the bottom to make sure all the numbers are where they need to be. Okay, I'm getting this much, the referral is getting this much, and I'm walking away with this much. If we added in $1,500 here to our client, that would appear here, and all these numbers would change. Okay. So once these, once you do this and submit it, okay, it'll kick back to me, and I'm gonna, for those that are new, I'm gonna show you what our what they look like. Okay, so this is one that I did for my own deal. So this is what it looks like when it kicks back. Okay, so what I get is a form that looks just like this. It's got my name, it's got the property address. Okay, I'm representing the buyer, the buyer's name, title company, their address, who I'm working with, and their email. It's got all these numbers here. Okay, and then at the bottom it says Angie Canna, who's the escrow officer. So whoever that escrow officer is, excuse me, please disperse commissions as follows. It's going to be whatever amount to the brokerage, whatever amount to credit to the client, whatever amount to the referral team lead. And then it says, and mail to the address on the attached referral form. If you're doing a referral, you need to have a referral form. On that form, we have a brokerage referral form. It's sitting inside of Facebook's files for our secret group, and I can add it to this training folder as well. You need to have a referral form. Should have the address of the receiving and the sending brokerage. You need to make sure and send that to the title company so they know where to send those funds to. Okay, and then it'll send out whatever your check is to you, paid directly to you at closing or per their instructions. And so the way that is written, you can tell the title company how you want it. Pick up a check. You want them to wire it to you, however you want. They're instructed to do it as you request. Okay. I sign down here, I date it, and this is what I will send. Once I complete this, I'll send a copy to you, the title company, and Lorene, and everybody will have it, and that should be all that's needed. It's a pretty quick, streamlined process. Nothing super fancy about it, but it's really easy to use. Okay, so I think that is it. We talked about SkySlope, DocuSign, conversion, CDA, and invoicing. All right, I think that's it as far as kind of some general stuff on how we do things. Does anybody have any specific questions that we can talk about? Otherwise, I don't really have anything else for you today. See, Terry, I know you're there, and you haven't done some of this stuff. Jessica, I know you're there, and you haven't done some of this stuff. So if you guys have any specific questions, that'd be fine. And then Lorene, Michael, and Marilena, if you guys have any tips, tricks, or anything that you think is specifically important, feel free to mention that. Going once, going twice.
Hey, it's Lorene. I'm going to add that I just want to reiterate what you said on SkySlope. If you are entering the type, the correct checklist type, then it will auto-populate all the forms that you need. So you don't have to worry about that. I just want to reiterate. I know you said that, but a couple people weren't here when you said that. So just want to reiterate that. Okay?
Yes, it will auto-populate the checklist of the forms that you need. You will still have to go in and assign those forms to that checklist. Right. But yes, it will go in there and tell you exactly what you need for compliance. And right. the downside to picking the wrong one is that if we come in before we issue a CDA, because before I sign the CDA, I go into SkySlope, make sure the transaction's all checked off and that Lorene has given the okay. And then once that's done, or I'm sorry, if you pick the wrong one and we have to send you back to do it over again, it's just a little more work on your part that kind of stinks. So, all right. If nobody has anything else, we're at about 40 minutes. This wasn't going to be a super long training. It was more kind of like an intro for folks to get oriented to the different tools and systems that we use and kind of where to find some of that stuff, and then just some of the pertinent things about those. If anybody has any questions later on, as always, you can email me, text message me, call me, Facebook me, smoke signal, whatever. I'm here. I'm available, even on the holidays. So otherwise, you guys have a good day. Go forward, kick ass, sell things, rent things, and let me know if you need help. Okay? You guys have a good day.
Thanks, Patty Cake.
Not a problem, sir. You have a good day. I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye now.
All right.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Bye-bye.